Welcome to the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
Hello, welcome to the Bold Book of the Day. My name is Dr. Denise Nicholson, and this podcast is for anyone looking for inspiration. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming a truly remarkable guest, Allen Northcutt, decorated U.S. Marine Corps fire pilot, Vietnam War veteran, retired investment banker, devoted father, and now award-winning children's book author. Please welcome Allen to the front.
It's nice to be here.
So, before we talk about the book, what's one fun or surprising thing about you that most people don't know?
Boy, that's a tough one. Surprising thing about me that most people don't know.
Yes.
I think most people know vaguely about my military service, but they don't know the details of the night that I flew and saved 50 Marines.
I want to hear that story.
Okay. It was our commanding officer's birthday, and his name was Guy R. Campo, Campo, but his nickname was Moose because he was about 6'2" and looked like a fullback on a football team. So his name was Moose Campo, and I talk to him every now and then, about once a year. I've still got his phone number. He lives out in California, and I call him up and make sure he's still alive and kicking. But we were having his birthday party, and everybody was, we drank salty dogs, which is grapefruit juice and vodka with a little salt around the rim because the temperature on the flight line was 130 degrees, and you had to take a lot of salt pills. So we just ingested it by drinking it with our vodka and grapefruit juice. And we were at the party, and the weather it was 200 feet visibility vertically and about 100 yards. You couldn't see more than 100 yards on the ground. And the duty officer came in and he says, "Gentlemen, we've got a problem up in the DMZ, demilitarized zone." A man on a listening post on a ridge there in the elephant grass, he was listening for um, North Vietnamese trucks coming down over in Laos, and he'd radio the airplanes, and we'd fly in and bomb them. And these 6 guys walked up on him, and he had to kill all 6 of them, or else they would have seen him and killed him. So that alerted about 150 regular North Vietnamese that he was there. So they sent in helicopters to get him out, sent in one helicopter. They shot it down. They sent another helicopter and they shot it down. Now there's a pilot, a co-pilot, a crew chief, and 20 Marines in each of the helicopters. So about 50 Marines on the ground getting ready to get killed by these 140 people. And the duty officer came in and said, "Now, that's the situation. And what we need is some close air support to take out the bad guys." And everybody said, we'd been drinking salty dogs for about 3 hours, and everybody's kind of lit up from drinking because we knew we weren't going to be able to fly for a couple of days. And I turned to my back seat radar intercept officer named Mo Moffitt, and he lives up in Ishpeming, Michigan. And I said, Mo, get your helmet. We're going flying, buddy. And he said, but Allen, we can't go flying. We've got an 8 hours bottle to throttle rule. And I said, that's a stateside rule, Mo. We got 50 of our guys are getting ready to get killed. Get your helmet. He said, aye, sir. So we took just the two of us in one plane. Nobody else would fly. So we went up and we got we flew around about 6,500, 7,000 feet. And two things saved the guys. Number one, there was lightning, and we could see the mountaintops in the lightning. So we knew how high we had to fly not to run into what we call it is a solid cloud. That's a mountain. And the other thing is one of the helicopters was on fire, and we could see it. So we got there and we circled, and I was talking to one of the helicopter pilots on the ground, and he told me where they were and where the bad guys were, the Viet Cong. And he said, now, the rule is if you're taking hostile fire, he said, they see you when the lightning flashes, because we had all our lights off on the plane, exterior lights. And he said, they're shooting it where they think you are with 50 caliber machine guns. So the rule is you make one run. And I said, garbled transmission in on my first run. And I pulled off, and he said, you're about 50 yards short of them or to the east of them. So I said, okay, I know right where they are. So I said, I'm in on my second run with 6 500-pound bombs. And I dropped 6 500-pound bombs. And he said, I think you got them all. It's raining body parts. Yeah. So I said, I'm going to make 2 more runs and just make sure that I got them all. So I did. And the next day, the helicopters came in and got them out, and they all survived, all but one. One guy said, these guys are going to kill us all. I'm going to charge them. And he charged them with his machine gun, probably killed 10 of them, but they took him out. So that's what happened, the dark and stormy night. Then I was back here in the States, and for about a year, and a guy at the Marine Corps recruiting station said, Allen, come out to the Air Guard base. We got something for you, and bring your wife and children and parents and family and friends. And when we went out there, the duty officer gave my wife a medal, which was called a Distinguished Flying Cross, which is the highest honor a pilot can get. And so they did that, and they gave me the award, and it's written out what happened. And a buddy of mine was reading that. He's a Marine historian, and he was reading my award, and he said, we need to find those guys. I said, what guys? He said, we need to find the helicopter pilots and the guy at the listening post. And daggone if he didn't find the 2 helicopter pilots and the guy that was on the listening post. And the guy and the helicopter pilots, they have a meeting every 2 years called the Papa Smokes. And Papa Smoke means when you're after the bad guys, you throw a red grenade with red smoke, and then you pop, and that's the bad guys, and the good guys are green smoke, so that we flying around can tell where the good guys and where the bad guys are. So the guy on the listening post, he said, I can't, I'm a minimum wage guy. I can't afford to come down to Jacksonville, Florida for your meeting. And I said, well, I'll send you a plane ticket. And he called me back in 15 minutes and he said, me and the wife and the kids have decided to take a vacation in Florida. We're going to drive down. We're going to see you there. So
Wow.
we went down there and spent a couple of nights in the hotel and had some drinks with all the helicopter pilots. And I met the two guys. That's a picture of the listening post guy, the two helicopter pilots, and me.
Wow. This is your reunion.
That was a reunion, and they have reunions every 2 years.
Uh-huh. Oh,
And
wow.
they do the West Coast, one time, and then the East Coast. So when they do it on the East Coast, I go. So it's
Thank you for sharing that story and thank you for your service.
you're welcome. It was a pleasure. Just another day at the office.
Wow. And you remember everything as if it were yesterday, the way you share that story.
Yeah, I go to a TMS doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I go to a counselor once every couple of weeks, but also TMS, which I call Woodpecker Man. They put this thing around your head, and it about every 8 seconds it goes this little thing like a woodpecker pecking on your head, and it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to help your memory.
Ah,
And
okay.
I guess it works because
It sounds like it's working. You remember that story with such details.
yeah.
I appreciate it. Now, you wrote the first draft of The Legend of Chris Moose back in 1982. What was happening in your life at that moment that sparked this story?
Well, my wife and I were getting divorced,
Mm.
and we lived in a nice farmhouse out in the country, and I had two children under 10, and I was living in a one-room tenant house, and I was living on about $600 a month because I paid for private school for them and um, all their expenses. So I had about $600 to live on. So I said, you know, I need to make a bunch of money. So maybe I'll write a book about the Christmas season. And,
Mhm.
you've got the songs, Frosty the Snowman, and all. And anyway, so I'm going to write a Christmas story.
Mhm.
So I rode horses with a group of people, and one of the ladies in the hunt had nicknames for all the animals that we saw, like Nosy the rabbit and Smarty the fox and Hooty the owl. So I said, I'm gonna incorporate all those cute little names and write a Christmas story that parents can read to their children every Christmas. And then it just started to flow. I wrote the whole book. I had a little Kickapoo Joy Juice, aka bourbon, which got the creative juices flowing. And I just started writing, and it took me less than an hour to write the whole book and incorporate all the um, names of a lot of the animals. And it was sort of an ugly duckling story.
Mhm.
There was a moose that was called Ugly because he was ugly. When he looked in the puddle in the water, he saw how it fit, how his name fit. But he was all the animals' friends because on Christmas Eve they went to Mama and Papa Bear's house and had a big party. And he would carry all the animals in his antlers. The heavy snow, they couldn't walk through the snow, but he could because he was big. And they got in his antlers. And they had the big Christmas party at Mom and Papa Bear's house. But Papa Bear had forgotten to do his job this year. He hadn't gone and gotten the Christmas tree.
Mm.
And it was too late to get the Christmas tree. So Smarty the Fox said, I got an idea. We can have Ugly the Moose stick his head through the window and we can decorate his antlers. And he can be our tree.
Uh-huh.
So they decorated him. And when he was all decorated, Marty the Fox said, we can't call him ugly anymore. He's beautiful.
That's right.
Why do we call him Chris Moose? It sounds so much like
Christmas.
Christmas. It could be the same. So they danced, and I'm not going to read it, I'm going to remember it. So they danced and they twirled, and Chris Moose became known as the most beautiful moose in the world.
Oh, you mentioned you had 2 children at the time. Do you think that your children helped to shape this story?
Well, one of my children had a learning disability.
Mm-hmm.
So, sort of the moral of the story is everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And even though you have a learning disability, there are things that you can be good at.
Yes.
And when it came time for my son was 16 or 17, he was going away to boarding school. And when he was born, another parent had a learning disabled child. And today that child still lives at home. And when my son was going to go up to Pennsylvania to boarding school, my wife said, who's going to drive him up there? And I said, nobody. He's going to drive himself.
Mm.
She said, he can't do that. And I said, he can if you say he can. But I say he can.
Mm-hmm.
So we got old road maps and took a yellow magic marker and drew on the road how he was going to go. And I said, I want you to stop every 2 hours in a filling station and tell me where you are.
Yes. So
he did that. And in about 10 hours, he said, I'm here at school, Dad. And
that was empowering for him, right?
Totally. Yeah, I tell him there's nothing in this world that you can't do. He rode horses. I told him to ride. He skis. He rides horses. He sails little sailboats. He plays golf. When he was 10 years old, the horseback riding barn they had a what they call a jumping derby, and they put a little pole about a foot off the ground, and everybody jumps over it. And if you knock it down, you're eliminated. And then they keep rising it. And when it got to 4 feet, everybody else knocked it down and he jumped it. And he won the jumping derby.
Oh, wow.
So
that is beautiful.
There's nothing you can't do. So you beat all those kids with those $10,000 horses, and you beat them on a $300 horse.
That also shows us that sometimes we limit ourselves and the people that are around us that we love so much just with our belief, and you can release them by shifting your mindset and giving them, empowering them, letting them know that you can do something if you think you can do it. That's
There's a little children's book called The Little Engine That Could.
Wow. So your son or the experience of raising a learning disabled son helped to shape the message behind this book.
It is.
What made you finally decide, after almost 30 years, that it was time for Christmas to step out of the drawer and into the world?
I forgot what exactly. I think I just woke up one morning and said, I was in my office where I'm sitting right now, and I had a pile of them sitting over on my book cabinet. And I said, it's time to publicize Christmas, to see if we can't get it out there. And it's a great story. And every time I read it, to family and friends, they said, you got to market that. You got to get it out there. So
Yeah.
it's something that parents and grandparents read to their kids every Christmas.
What message do you want parents and grandparents to take out of this beautiful book and share with their children?
I think the moral of the story is that you can do anything if you just try.
Yes.
Every journey starts with a single step, but you got to take that step.
Yeah, there's
and
power.
then it'll kind of flow.
Yeah. Now, where did the book is written in rhyme.
Right.
Where did you get the idea to write the book in rhyme?
I think a number of seasonal books kind of rhyme. I mean, some of the stories just are stories, but I said it's going to be way better if it rhymes. And then I used all the animals that we saw when we were out riding horses, and had nicknames for all of them. And then I said, hold on just a second. I've got a then they picked up Stinky, a black and white skunk. He brought all his stockings, which he kept in a trunk. And first came Chatter the squirrel, who jumped out of his nest with a big basket of nuts that he liked the best. There's Nosy the rabbit, brought carrots for snacks and a beautiful candle made of red wax. Then, wearing his mask, came Bandit the raccoon, with rings on his tail and carrying a balloon. And it just flowed. Each animal had a particular characteristic that I could make a poem out of. And I've never written a book before or a book after, but it just seemed to flow.
Did your experience as a Marine Corps fighter, did that experience give you anything to include in this book?
Well, one of the things that happened is we had a thing called the hot pad. And every 24 hours, you spent 4 hours on the hot pad. And a hot pad it's 130 degrees on the runway. We were in an air-conditioned trailer, and the airplanes were set up with all the switches set and the compressor ready to start it. And we had our flight suit and everything on, everything but our helmet. And when the whistle blew that we would have to scramble and go help some guys that are in trouble, it took us less than 3 minutes to get airborne. And when we sat in that air-conditioned trailer, we had no radio, no TV, we had the Stars and Stripes newspaper, which was 7 pages and came out once a week. So when we sat in that air-conditioned trailer, we said, well, let's make up some jokes.
Mm-hmm.
So we made jokes about everything you can imagine, which we shouldn't be making jokes out of, about white people, black people, Hispanic people, um, Mexican people, investment bankers, insurance salesmen, politicians. I probably got 1 to 3 words written down on a piece of paper that remind me of about 100 very off-color jokes that we can't tell anymore.
In your military career, did you ever witness situations where people were excluded because they were different? And how did that influence your writing?
I don't think anybody was excluded, but people were looked upon as some pilots were better than others, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody knew who the better ones were. Before we got deployed to a place called Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico, where we went down there for fighter pilot school for bombs and rockets practice, and we dog fight with each other. And when we came back from Roosevelt Roads, our commanding officer came up to me and he said, I've kind of had an eye on you. You're far and away the best pilot we've got, with where you drop the bombs and the rockets and dogfighting with other pilots. And I'm going to give you your next duty station. I'm going to give you your choice. You can either join the Blue Angels flight demonstration team, or you can go to Vietnam. What's your pick? And I said, I didn't join the Marine Corps to be a fancy guy. I joined the Marine Corps to kill bad guys and save good guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, there isn't one of 100 people that would have made that choice, but off you go. Good luck.
Wow. You have shared so many great stories and so many intriguing stories, because you are showing me on one level how brave and reliable of a fighter you are. And then you share this other side where you are writing a children's book and you're talking about, people that are different in the book, and how almost like someone was bullied, or being treated badly because of how they look. And then you show that soft side, but you show this bravery, and then you totally show this other side, this really soft side of you. What can we expect to learn from you from each of these different characters that you're sharing with us?
It's basically you can do anything if you try. And my son had a learning disability.
Mm-hmm.
And when he first went to school, because he was different, people went away to boarding school because he was different. They'd pick on him. They'd trip him, knock his books out of his hand. And he called me. He said, what do I do, Dad? And, all the teachers, they knew what was going on. And I said, Alan, next time that bully knocks your books out of your hand, you just haul off and hit him right on the end of his nose.
That's right.
As hard as you can. And guess what? He'll never knock those books out of your hand again.
Yes.
And the teacher called me up. She was irate because she said, your son hit this guy in his face and bloodied his nose.
Mm-hmm.
And when I asked him what became of him to do that, and he said, my dad told me to do it. And we don't solve problems like that here at school. And I said, well, ma'am, if you had been doing your job and made that bully go sit in the corner or expelled him from the school, that wouldn't have happened, and my son wouldn't have had to pop him in the nose.
That's
Because
right.
he said,
I'm not for advocating violence either, but I believe that if we don't teach our children to stand up for themselves, especially when they're not around us, then other people will continue to bully them and take advantage of them.
yeah.
So I'm
So you
glad
got to
you
keep,
shared that story.
you got to take up for, and she did say, she said, I think you're right. I'm going to have to take action when I see bullying.
Yeah. What advice would you give to parents whose children are experiencing bullying right now?
I think the parents should go in and talk to the teacher and say, my son or daughter is being bullied. And if you don't do something about it, I'm going to tell them to pop them on the end of the nose. And the teacher will say, we don't do violence here. You say, well, he is being bullied violently. And if you don't do your job, I'm just going to tell him to, you know, tit for tat, pussycat.
How can teachers or counselors use the legend of Christmas in their classrooms or in their youth groups?
I think they can read the book, at Christmas
Mhm.
time, read the book and explain about bullying and that taking, teasing people that are different,
Yes.
and that, it's a bad thing. How would you like to be bullied or teased? So, it's, there are a lot of lessons in the book.
I believe that this book could be the next timeless Christmas classic.
That's what I'm thinking.
What do you hope the legacy of Christmas will be in the next 20 or 30 years?
That parents and children will learn that everybody has value, that you have to stick up for yourself, stand up for yourself,
Yeah.
and that parents and teachers need to keep the peace and in the classroom and keep people from being bullied, and people that bully to learn to maybe bully people intellectually, and um, try and be smarter academically and not
I believe
bully.
a lot of teachers do their job. I love teachers. Teachers have made a lot of difference in my life. I I went into nursing because a teacher encouraged me and told me that this was a practical thing to do and something that would change my life. And today I'm a nurse practitioner, hospitalist. I'm also running a global book publishing company because that same teacher encouraged me to write and publish, sent my work to get published when I was in the third grade. So I love teachers, but I think that teachers, when they do their job, they do it so well. And I think that when they don't do it, as you know, in the case when you're allowing someone to get bullied right in front of you, and then the kid has to come in and punch someone in the face and bloody their nose just to get somebody to stop bothering them. And things like that really irks me because when teachers do their job, they make such a huge difference in this world and such a gift to the world when teachers do their jobs.
I had a personnel management teacher in college that um, um, told me something that has stayed with me my whole life, and I've used it so many times. He would, he would, when we first came in class, he said, "What's the most important thing you learned from this class?" And in unison, we would say, "Just don't tell them what." And we said that every day. So when you have an employee or somebody that's working for you, and you tell them, I want you to move this over there or whatever it is, they'll say, "Well, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that. There's a better way." But if you tell them why, they will understand and do it gladly and do a better job than you know you thought they were going to do.
Just don't tell them. Tell them why.
Don't don't just tell them why.
Oh my goodness. Where can we get this book?
You can get on Amazon or your local bookstore. Hmm. Here's the cover. Can you see it?
Beautiful book, beautifully illustrated. Tell us a little bit about the illustrator.
Well, there's a friend of mine, Donnie Weber, that I've skied with for 30 or 40 years. We had a group of us, or like 6 of us. We call ourselves the bowling team because we'd ski the back bowls at Vail
Ooh.
Mountain, and we'd go and we'd warm up one run on a blue, which is an intermediate run, and then we'd go straight to the double blacks with the Volkswagen size moguls for 8 days. And so we call ourselves the bowling team, i.e. the back bowls of Vail.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my buddies is a guy named Donnie Weber, and I went to him with this story, and he's an illustrator. He's an artist. He paints beautiful. He commissioned paintings in the tens of thousands of dollars. He's so good. And the lady that worked for him was named Christy Morris, and she illustrated the book, The Legend of Chris Moose. So
It's beautifully illustrated. How can schools or parents or organizations invite you to come to their school and talk to their students about the beautiful message of Chris Moose, the legend of Chris Moose?
they can just call me on my telephone,
All right.
which is 502-645-5600 is my cell phone. And, I live in Michigan in the summer and Louisville, Kentucky in the spring and fall, and Delray Beach, Florida in the winter. And, I'm happy to drive a couple of hours, 2-3 hours to wherever they would like me to come and read the book before their class and give them insights.
Yes. Well, I thank you so much for coming and sharing your story and so many great stories. And I am looking forward to meeting you. I have an annual authors conference in New York. So if you're ever in this area, let me know, or you should plan to be in this area next June. We are going to do our authors conference in June in Rockland County. We would love to have you come and share your story and tell us a little bit more about all of the stories that you have there from your experiences.
Why don't you text me your schedule
Yes,
and where you're going to be and when.
event
And
details. Excellent. I'll send you event details. Now, there are 3 questions that I just love to ask my guests. So before you go, I wanted to ask you these 3 these 3 questions. What is a bold statement that you can share with our audience?
that you can do anything if you think you can. That
Yes.
there's nothing too tough or out of reach for you to take that single step. Every journey starts with a single step. You just have to take it. And as you go along, opportunities will open up to do it better and better.
What's a bold statement that you can share with the audience that may cause a paradigm shift?
There's 3 rules in life: never give up, and never give up.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes things look like they're going bad,
Mm-hmm.
but
Never
it's
give up.
always darkest before the sun rises.
Mm-hmm. Never give up, never give up, and never give up.
I've taught my children that, people on sports teams, in business, everything. Just keep plugging away.
Now, what's a bold move? You've done so many things. You've had so many great experiences. What is a bold move that you'd like to make in the future?
Well, I'm getting ready to make a bold move.
What is it? Do tell.
Elon Musk and his SpaceX?
Uh-huh.
I'm the next guy to go around the moon in
Oh,
the SpaceX.
that's a bold move. Please come back after you've done that and share with us that experience. Oh my goodness.
Well, they keep blowing up on the launch pad, so I'm going to wait until about 3 of them go successfully. Then I'm signing up.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Now, please share with the audience where they can get your book one more time.
You can get it on Amazon.
All
or
right.
Eventually you'll be able to get it at Books A Million or local bookstores.
Yes.
But it's going to have to, sell 1 million copies before the local bookstores start stocking it.
Oh,
But
okay.
you can get it on Amazon now.
Okay. Thank you. So they can get
Old Stone Press, all one word, OldStonePres.com.
All right, guys, please go out and support Allen Northcutt. He is intriguing, he is witty, and he has written this classical book that I believe is going to be, one of those classics that we'll be talking about 20 to 30 years from now. Thank you for coming to our show. And for those of you who are listening, if you would like to write a book and you just don't know where to start or you feel stuck, send me an email, authordnicholson@gmail.com. Or you can schedule time with me if you go to boldpublishings.com. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.